All right, guys, afternoon. Thanks for helping us manage our late change on Tuesday. But wanted to make sure we had this week for what I alluded to last week about our mayor's initiative for childcare access. This is something that has been on my radar for several months. Something I talked about during the winter conference with the U.S. Conference of Mayors in January, and again at the leadership meeting in February, and that I put forward as one of our policy initiatives among all U.S. mayors nationally as the chair of Workforce, Jobs, and Education. That committee, all the committee heads are asked to put together what those 2 or 3 key initiatives are on behalf of the mayors, and that was, while we had obviously other unrelated things, I look at childcare access as a quality of life issue, an education issue, and a workforce development and economic development issue. So that's why I'm very excited to formally announce the Mayor's Childcare Access Program, and it'll be led by Teresa Sherp, who's here with us today, and certainly I know afterwards can take any questions that you may have. And we quickly came to the realization while we discuss education, maybe traditionally in the city government saying it's not our job, that you guys have heard me many times say that it not only are these things our job, but it should be our job. It doesn't really matter, whose budget is what and all that. What we all know is to advance this community the way we all want to see it. We have to improve outcomes in education, and we really want to take a big, hard emphasis on increasing child care access across the board at the city. So we are hosting, I mentioned to you guys, we are hosting a child care summit on May 28th. Teresa has been heading that up, and her position was created in child care and education because we not only want to say what we're going to do, we want someone waking up every single day to get this forward. So this is our city's investment. Not only this position, but this initiative is our city's investment into our children of this community. And so Teresa has been hitting the ground running, doing a great job handling this, and this is our first big initiative, which is the Child Care Summit on May 28th. We got a diverse group of folks from child care providers to local and state experts, business leaders, community advocates. I believe our RSVP list is up to about 39 right now. We had over 50 invited, so lots of folks we are very grateful taking the time out of their busy schedules to come have a conversation that isn't just a conversation. The hope is that really this is a 2-part summit. One is a diagnosis that we figure out exactly from folks with boots on the ground that have been dealing with this for years in many different ways about what are those 1, 2, 3 things that we feel can be done together with funding, with collaboration, or both. And then a second meeting at a to be determined time where we start coming up with the strategies to implement. You guys hear me when it comes to all the plans we're doing and the planning we're doing, that this office is also in charge of implementation. And if we want to not just talk about plans, but we want to get something done, this isn't a monthly meeting, this isn't a weekly meeting, this is let's get in the room together and diagnose, and let's get in the room together and figure out our best way forward. My intent right now is that our MOU with the Children's Trust will be primarily focused. There may be a few smaller other things to be determined, but our efforts with whatever eventual MOU is with the Children's Trust will be focused primarily on childcare access. We're also looking at, and what we want on the table for this discussion is additional resources that the city may provide, and I'll give some examples. One is the historical building and grant funding that we received at Alice Williams on E Street. That process took place obviously with a lot of advocacy with Councilwoman Broughton under Mayor Robinson's tenure is when that started. We're getting to the renovation point of that. I believe that could be a great resource of free or infrastructure for someone that is helping meet some of those needs. That's something that we're willing to put on the table. I also think, if you recall, we've got CDBG commercial revitalization grants in both Brownsville and around the Baptist Hospital site that are tied to 100% commercial revitalization. An example, whether it be property acquisition, rehab, there's many different ways that we can use those buckets of funding to actually create physical infrastructure, whether that means child care centers, whatever the case when our experts get in the room. If those are buckets of funding that could potentially help, certainly we want to entertain those as well. So I'm very excited for this conversation. We don't come in with exact preconceived notions of what to do with a building or what those 2 or 3 initiatives are going to be. We come in with an open mind and saying, let's let our experts not only help us guide this direction, we want everyone to have buy-in on this direction. We want us to all, as best we can, walk out of this room after 2 meetings with alignment about making Pensacola a benchmark in our state for increasing access to childcare. And so when I say it's not our job, I grew up in this community with the understanding of why people live in other counties because of education. And this is something that doesn't have to just be how we've always done it, is to say, well, you live in another county because of their school system, or you take certain actions. We don't have to accept that. We can do the best that we can and if increasing child care access makes it easier and more accessible for people to live in our city and to stay in our city, that's what we're looking at doing. And to work in our city and to be able to drop their kid off and not have to give up their job because they can't find somewhere to have their kid find quality child care. So we're very, very excited for this, and it has been many weeks and months coming. And again, happy to take any questions you have. And Teresa, our Education and Youth Programs Officer, will be working on that and many other things, including ramping up some of our internship programs and many more things to come in the coming weeks. But this has been job one. And Teresa has more than 20 years of experience in leadership and executive education. And again, she's been doing an amazing job so far getting this all put together. It is no easy task to get 39 people to agree on a date to talk about anything. So we're already, I'm very, very pleased with where we are right now, a few weeks in advance. And we'll get you guys at the media some more information on access to that meeting and when that is. I believe it's if it's not an all day, it's kind of a close to an all day type event. So we'll try to certainly respect y'all's time and make sure you got whatever access you need to hear that conversation. We had planned, in case, I'm not sure if it got noticed officially, we had planned or offered up a joint meeting, you guys remember, for May 13th or May 14th with the county. They were not able to they indicated to us they weren't able to make those dates work. We have been notified that they will discuss that on the 15th, that will be an item of trying to find a date for joint. So we certainly, if it was not something they wanted to entertain at all, obviously we would have gone ahead and moved forward with our council and at least had a council workshop with the mayor and administration. But we truly believe that the city and the county being at the table at once, is certainly worth waiting for. And so we'll see what the county says. Hopefully they come out of that meeting with some dates, and we'll get that Bay Center joint conversation hammered out and allow them the opportunity to talk to a potential author of this plan that we want to put together. So we'll see what they say on the 15th, and more to come there. The airport, you might have seen the news from Matt's team that the Breeze Airways is expanding service once again in Pensacola, and we now have directs starting September 4th to Bentonville, Fayetteville, Arkansas, and September 5th to Memphis, Tennessee on Breeze Airways. So again, this is another, we just got Breeze, I'm going to say give or take a year ago, if that, and starting with service to Tampa 2 times a week. That's grown to 4 times, and now we have Raleigh-Durham, and then now we have Memphis and Bentonville, Fayetteville. So very excited to see that kind of aggressive trajectory, and what that tells me is that Breeze is getting the ridership numbers that they want and the activity that they want to see it grow this rapidly. So we're certainly grateful in Breeze investing in our community and what our airport team is doing out there to continue to grow. What was not even a carrier at our airport not that long ago is now, adding a third and fourth nonstop to our repertoire. A couple reminders on Galvez Day. I think we're going to put some inclement weather plans in place. We have a short program at 10 a.m. inside the Perry House on Friday. This is on Friday, and a public luncheon at the Pensacola Yacht Club. Reservations are required, and you can go to historicpensacola.org if you're interested in attending that. That's at 11:30 at the Yacht Club. And there'll be at 3 o'clock a wreath laying ceremony at Veterans Memorial Park. We won't have our visitors from Macherva Yaya. I think everybody is storing up for next year, the 250th, and I think there'll be they're planning a large celebration, and we're already starting to have conversations around that. But that is the schedule as of now. If the weather holds off, it might end up being outside the Perry House, but it'll be either right at the Galvez statue or at the Perry House right across the street. Artist in Residence program update. Danny DeCastro is holding a public listening session as she looks to shape this program. It's Monday, May 12th at 5:30 in this room. And this program contributes to 2 of our 8 goals highlighted in the strategic plan, both public spaces that connect communities and neighborhoods that celebrate culture and honor legacy. If you recall, Danny DeCastro is an amazing artist, but what we've really tasked her to do primarily is build the Artist in Residence program. There are cities around this country who have done an amazing job. I think of St. Cloud, St. Paul, area of Minnesota, and is one of the benchmarks that have been doing it great for years. So before we just jumped in and said, let's hire an artist in residence and paint some paintings or do some art, what we wanted to do is make sure things like building an artist database and directory that, hear what our artists need and want, make sure that they're aligned with our communication about different projects happening in the city. So those are things that haven't existed before, so we're on the precipice of, I think, really the best communication and alignment with our art community that we've had in a long time. So excited to have her on board. And again, Monday, May 12th at 5:30. Last 2 things, District 2 Town Hall meeting with Councilman Bear is Tuesday, May 13th, 5:30 p.m., and that's at Asbury Place at Cokesbury Church up 5727 North 9th Avenue. And lastly, just got the invite yesterday. I'll be joining the mayor of Columbia, South Carolina, Daniel Rickenman, next Monday in Washington, D.C., and some U.S. Conference of Mayors folks meeting with Alex Myer, the head of U.S. Governmental Affairs at the White House. So that meeting will be Monday at 3 o'clock. I will be back to tell you about it on Tuesday at 10, but so I'll get, if my plane lands late Monday night. But excited for that. We're going to be talking about many of our policy issues, again, jobs, education, and workforce. Also making sure that we protect some of those controls that allow our cities to have public-private partnerships. For example, municipal bonds and how those will operate. So we're having, again, I know Mayor Rickenman's really been spearheading this and has been a great friend and ally to me in Columbia. And very excited and grateful, honored to be invited to the West Wing and be part of that conversation on Monday. So just got that news yesterday. So excited for that. And that is everything I have, and happy to take any questions that you have. Yeah.
On the childcare, any specific issues that you've heard from organizations or people in the city just regarding, is it a lack of childcare services here in the city, or can you kind of go into specific?
Yeah, well, I can name some, probably some consistent themes. Again, I want to let our experts get in here and that'll understand it certainly better than I will. But here's what we know. We know that at every income level that there's an availability issue, whether it's subsidized childcare all the way to folks that are paying full, what I guess you'd consider like in housing term, market rate, $1,000 or more a month. Even the folks that are not subsidized are struggling to find childcare. And when you really dig deep, what you realize is there's many potential pitfalls to that. Number one is, do we have enough accredited, qualified employees to work at these locations? Number two is, what type of business training, upskilling, development? We have entrepreneurs, whether you open a restaurant or a bar or you open a childcare, it's got to be able to make money. It's got to be successful. You've got to be able to keep employees. What kind of support system are we putting in place for our current childcare folks that are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into running this? Is there something we can do to help them build their skill? I've heard of stories anecdotally around here where we've got good operating childcares, but if can we help them get certifications that allow them to tap into additional revenues that they wouldn't otherwise be able to find? I think there's lots of things that we can do, but it only reinforces this priority for me, because if that's what we're dealing with, I believe firmly those are solvable issues if we all get together and not try to make every organization and every childcare facility fight for this on their own. What are we doing to make it pencil? Again, labor is expensive, and how much labor you need, especially depending on what age of childcare we're talking about, can be wildly expensive. It could not be a skill issue as an entrepreneur. It could be, can we make the numbers work? And that's why you see actually in other cities is there might be programs that help accentuate pay for these very vital jobs. How many years have we talked about frontline jobs and public safety jobs and the value of teachers? We talk about the value of teachers and the enormous value they bring to our community. Why would we isolate folks that are looking after our 1-year-old and 2-year-old and 3-year-olds? That's just as vital for us to be able to go do our jobs and make an income and to be able to build their brains. As we know, 95% of the brains develop by age 5. So, that I think there's so many different things that I'm really excited to explore. I know when we get the unique understanding of our community in here, that will help us prioritize what those things are moving forward. I think I mentioned last week, Jim Hodge, the head of the Children's Trust in Miami-Dade County, will be here to present their Thrive by 5 and some of the highlights and best practices that they've put in. They've been very, very successful in really this exact type thing. I believe the head of their Early Learning Coalition for Miami-Dade is joining him as well. I don't have the name offhand, as well as one of their program managers. So, we want to talk apples to apples. And what happens many times in these community type conversations, they say, well, that's Miami and this is us. We're gonna cut through that. We're gonna find solutions that are realistic and attainable for the city of Pensacola, and we're not going to be stopped by rationalizing inaction. That's what I'm going to be saying to the board in the very first minute of that meeting, is to say, I want us all to look at this with an open mind, listen to everybody's ideas with an open mind, but we're not going to walk out of the room saying, well, that's them and this is us. We've got to figure out ways that we're going to be able to take real action, and so I'm very, very excited to get that started.
And then, separate topic.
Yeah.
I heard you on the radio this morning. You made a trip to Wisconsin to
Yeah.
visit a charter school. So I guess what prompted that trip? And I think you also mentioned the Baptist property, about that possibly being a location for one.
So, I used to do what you guys did for a long time, and what I find myself doing with any type of project we look at is, I think, the same thing you guys are doing, is just doing our research and trying to find best practices. A lot of what we're talking about with childcare. So I was able to get an invite to visit a very, very successful childcare. Not childcare. The Lincoln Academy in Beloit, Wisconsin, and did a tour around there for about 3 hours. Amazing the work that they're doing there, from people leaving high school with their EMT certifications, to welding, to coding for gaming, which is a big industry in Wisconsin. It's just when you get an offer to get a preliminary look at those types of things, we take it. And it was an awesome experience to get to learn about what they're doing right up there. They have some hurdles just like we do. I was up and back in the same day, actually, to go check that out. As it pertains to your second part of your question, Baptist, I think what we've maintained for quite a while We have community engagement to do. We want to make sure we understand what the wants and needs of our surrounding neighborhoods and communities are. But what I've maintained since day one, taking on the blood, sweat, and tears and perhaps frustrations, depending on the day, of the Baptist Hospital project, the reason it's all worth it is because we need to be able to attack the two biggest issues I see in our community, which is housing and education. So what form that takes, is it a charter school? Is it the school district? I don't know. But I learned a lot and got a lot of clarity about what right looks like during that meeting. And I'll give an example. I've talked a lot about the need for increased education K through 8. What was really fascinating about the Lincoln Academy is they go K through 12, which is not unique. But you see how they have the high schoolers interacting with the elementary school folks, including getting hours that help them go get a job after. And so having that interaction in the same room of 16, 17-year-old kids that are able to get some kind of on-the-job training, whether it's teaching or anything else, and being able to work with kids right there in their own community, in their own school, that was something I didn't really think about, and I don't mean that that's what we're going to do. I mean, we're a long ways off from deciding that, and again, we're going to get a lot of education experts to get in a room and help us decide that, but it's always, to me, so valuable to go see things that are running well, and learned a lot about what they wish they would have done. I think they built it and they had an expansion project start 2 months later. And so as we get more and more serious about that conversation, that's just one more resource that we would have that really has no dog in the fight other than they want us to be successful. So, so that's building a good relationship with someone doing it right, and for us to be able to benchmark that is very valuable.
Mayor.
Yep.
Regarding your visit to the Lincoln Charter School, how did they handle enrollment? And were they by application only? How did they handle low-performing students that may be interested in going there? Was it scholarships, or was it?
It's actually straight lottery, and what was really cool, they're about to have their first graduating class. They started 9th grade only with 9th grade, so this is their 4th year. They're graduating high school. When you look at their breakdown, it was just a 100% lottery, and when you look at the diversity of their county versus their school, the diversity of how percentage of kids with special needs, it is almost a mirror image of the school district as a whole, and their individual school districts are the lowest performing in the entire state. So it is not hand-picking this type of student or this type of scholar. Actually, they call all their students scholars there, and it wasn't that that their performance is above and beyond, and it's a exact direct reflection of the student body of that school district. Even more impressive. Like you said, it's not skewed by what somebody would perceive as some type of advantage of selecting this group versus that group. That it matches it exactly.
Is it a public school, and is Wisconsin a voucher state?
Yes and yes. There are some similarities. Yes, it is a public school, and there's no cost. It's a charter to the student, no cost to the student. But it works similarly to what Florida would do, where they get a certain stipend from the state that actually passes through the school district, where you'd get X per student, and of course there's a delta that they have to go fundraise. They're not getting the check they get per student does not cover the cost of educating that student. So there's philanthropy involved, of course, and many other things. So there's some similarities there. I would say Wisconsin probably has, from a union standpoint, probably some bigger hurdles. I wouldn't say that Wisconsin as a whole has taken the same position on education that the state of Florida has. So in that sense, I think that they probably dealt with even maybe a couple extra, hurdles from a philosophical standpoint up there that you may not see as much down here. So anyway, very, very impressive. About a $46 million facility, beautiful. Even all the way down to the way where they put lockers on the middle school room and putting these collaboration glass rooms between classrooms. They thought of every single thing. I think it was an architect out of Milwaukee, but and we were looking around, I did bring my Florida insight. They said, look at all this glass, and I said, well, is it wind rated? For 150 miles an hour, it might be a little more expensive down in Florida, but yeah, it was very rewarding to get to see that, and certainly as this conversation materializes more and more, and we're, I got plenty of fish in the sea to deal with right now on Baptist Hospital, but as this materializes more and more, it's just great to have that not only have that knowledge in the back of my mind, but that resource as we get closer to it to be able to tap into.
So does the city need another charter school in your mind based on what you're saying, and is that a priority of yours to make something?
Listen, here's what I know, that one of the biggest hindrances to people living in the city of Pensacola and is school performance. And we have amazing principals here, we have amazing teachers here, but I don't feel that we're comfortably in the zone of complacency, and it's why I'm sitting here talking to you guys about this. This should be, if a mayor ever after me says that this isn't their job, it should be. And that doesn't mean we get to control everything. It doesn't mean it's going to be done the way that the mayor believes it should be done exactly. All it means is we've got to get moving. We cannot sit around. We've been talking about this since I was a kid. We've got to do, whether that's collaboration with the school district, whether that's the Children's Trust, whether that's charter school. So I'm not here to specifically to prescribe and say a charter school, a lab school, some hybrid is going to be the difference of the prosperity we want to see. I'm not here to say that. What I'm here to say is we will do anything that we can within reason to improve educational outcomes in this county, in this city. So we aren't going to sit on our hands. We're not going to say it's someone else's job. I think educating our kids and expecting people to want to live here and for our kids to go grow up and go get educated, whether they be welders or they be doctors, and they want to come back here and continue to support this community, we got to do something. And that's, I wouldn't say it's exactly whether we need a charter school or not. Certainly we're exploring that, obviously, but we got to do something. And so that is what I'm committed to, is continuing to move this ball forward and improving educational outcomes here, and hopefully building that coalition and collaboration along the way that gets us where we need to go.
Mayor?
Yeah.
You've been meeting with a progressive P3 consultant.
Yes.
What's that all about? Is that about all city procurement, or is that the Bay Center district? What you got in mind here?
Yeah, so fortunately with the U.S. mayors, they came down and hosted there's a P3 Institute. I think we were either their 10th or 11th, and they go into communities. And what they really do is train staff of city, county. I believe we had the mayor's chief of staff from Montgomery came in town. Dothan Alabama had some leadership there. Destin had some leadership there, and nothing other than talking to developers who are doing huge, prominent public-private partnership projects. Waco, there's a big one in Waco. I don't remember the name offhand. And using examples of kind of, hey, here's what a developer or a private partner we need to see from the public, and here are some other things, best practices. Really goes back to, I guess, the theme of today, is us going and finding best practices about not waiting till someone just comes and knocks on the door and says, I've got a great deal for you. Why don't we understand and have a better catalog and skill set to be able to be proactive and say, if we're going to build a parking garage, do we need to just fund that solely through parking revenues and wait till we have enough parking revenues, or is there some partnership that allows that to happen faster? So it's not, they were very clear. Public-private partnership's not free money. It's not. What it is the ability for a city or a government to be able to use its assets and be able to get things done quicker and maybe more nimbly than they can do on their own. And so we had about 10 of our staff members there, from zoning to planning to CRA, and just went through best practices. One of the experts there was a consultant on the expansion at LaGuardia, for example, in New York. So it was really cool, and I think our staff got a big collection of knowledge from that. And again, you don't know what you don't know. They're talking about a lot of things I wasn't aware of that was becoming popular in this space. So, and that was put together by the U.S. mayors. Just no cost to us, no cost to anybody being there. Just trying to get us better educated on how to execute a public-private partnership. And part of that conversation is what I'll be talking about in D.C. on Monday.
Mayor,
Yeah.
I believe Crestview is looking at putting in school speed zone cameras in some of this area, and I think Gulf Breeze's police chief said that they might be looking into it as well. Is the city exploring that option?
I've got a little camera fatigue, I think, at this moment. I got enough emails. Look, public safety is everybody's number one issue. I don't care what political party you are. I don't care what race you are. You can survey it 5 years ago or today. Number one concern is public safety. So I would never frown upon anybody's effort in their community of what they feel increases public safety, regardless of whatever emails you get and whatever complaints that you get. I support any effort like that. I don't think that's something that the city would take on. We have been approached about that. My position on that would be I would certainly want the school district to kind of spearhead that. And if this was a priority of the school district, we would certainly entertain it. But I would like that to be initiated from our school district if that's something that they want to do. And I support them if they do, or I support them if they don't. No, City of Pensacola, we got enough irons in the fire right now. I think we'll keep going with the public safety initiatives that we've already put in place.
Mayor, on Baptist Hospital, has there been any further development as far as the bids and what's the status of your talks with the county?
Yeah. So as far as the bids go, there's letters changing hands of the new or the protest, the response to the protest, the response to the response to the protest, and so that is going back and forth. I believe we had received one from the previous number one that now has been disqualified. We've received a response from them. I know our city attorney's reading that now, analyzing it. I think we're pretty confident in our position regardless, but obviously to answer your question directly, that's where we are in terms of that. Once the air is cleared on all of that, and I'm given the go-ahead by our city attorney's office, then we'll start negotiation. More to come on that, and that could be tomorrow, that could be next week. In terms of we have, I believe, a signed agreement on our side with Baptist Hospitals with the clerk right now. So that's just a formality in terms of getting that fully executed with Baptist. So that continues to move forward. I have requested that we be on the agenda on May 15th. I was told today that may not happen, that it might be part of this joint conversation. I don't want to speak for the county. I would probably be better to ask them on where they stand. I'll just speak for me and say we are ready to have a conversation and have been ready to have a conversation about any questions they may have, any questions about bids, all of that. And we certainly look forward to the opportunity to be talking about that in a public setting. And I've called Commissioner Kohler several times, and I've gotten a text or two back. Haven't heard or haven't called back yet, but I'm sure he will. We'll continue to just push this thing forward. It's the last step that we have to get this done. So, we're doing the best we can to move it as quickly as we can.
Mayor, following up on Jim's thing here, your $7 million state grant for the Baptist project, is it contingent upon the $2 million from the county? And if the county can't agree on that share, what's the risk here?
The $7 million is for ultimately, by letter of the law, of course, is for property acquisition, which this really is. But we always talk about the demolition, but this is for property acquisition and demolition, obviously. There's no understanding I have that the $7 million is contingent upon it. But what I know is the conversations that we had with Senator Broxson before this took place and before he advocated so staunchly on our behalf to make this happen, was that there was a clear breakdown of what the funding expectation would be for him to go advocate for those dollars. So no, I don't think, legally speaking, I don't think the $7 million is contingent. Obviously, our agreement with Baptist is contingent upon that, and I believe Baptist's agreement with their board about funding the $5.9 million is also contingent on a $2 million contribution from the county. Not because anybody was trying to make a decision for them, it was just this has been the conversation for many, many, many months. This is not, it might seem new, but this has been well over a year that we've been having this conversation. So, no, I don't think there's any legal reason that if the county decides to not do that after all, then I don't believe that is directly contingent upon the $7 million.
Mayor, follow up on the county and the city come together on the Bay Center. I think is it going to be a committee, or are you talking about a joint meeting?
Sorry. Yeah. Well, thanks for making sure I say that clearly. My preference is to go ahead and have a joint meeting, the council, the county commission, and myself. That's the request that I respectfully have put in, and I believe they're working towards now. And the committee, I think I mentioned to you guys last week, the idea of the committee was floated out as an idea to speed up government. And what we've realized is I think it might slow down government. There's lots of people wondering if they should be on this committee. Now, we haven't prescribed even what this committee would do. My recommendation during the BOCC conversation was to have a small subcommittee that wasn't there to debate different types of venues. It wasn't there to, it was to move the project forward, that didn't require a joint meeting every time we had, a substantive decision. That was the way I was looking at it. And the county has been running that. This is just from conversation I've heard, with them was, well, you're running into the complexities of who's going to be on it, who isn't going to be on it, all of those types of things, and you'd have to ask the county on formal requests. Again, this committee conversation is with officially under the county's purview, but what I believe to be best, and I don't know that I don't want to speak for any county commissioners and what they want to do, but I think we have some general alignment. Is let's have a meeting, a joint meeting together, to vet out a potential, firm to do this plan for us, and we can talk about anything else. If leaving that meeting, the decision is to have a committee for something, great. I wouldn't say don't do it. I just mean the whole spirit of bringing that up, I believe the first time, was for government efficiency. And if we don't watch it, we're going to spend 3 or 4 months building this government efficiency group instead of actually getting something done. And so that's where I think it is right now. But again, that's running through the county. I would defer to exactly the status of what they're going to propose or not propose. That'll all be on May 15th, and we just stand ready to have a meeting with them, and very much look forward to starting that conversation.
Mayor, on Portside Pickle, where are we on that?
Yeah, I believe, man,
Has everything been permitted yet, or where are we?
Oh yeah, I believe so. I think the 3 outdoor courts could be ready any minute, or 3 of the outdoor courts. Okay. But obviously, this is a new, unprecedented thing. I know there were some, permit complexities with shipping containers and everything else, but there's nothing on my desk that I'm aware of that's stopping the project or holding it up. Okay. I was able to tour it maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and they were already starting to paint those 3 courts.
It seems like it's always
Yeah. But no, I don't think it. My understanding, they could the owners or developers can certainly let me know. There's nothing I'm aware of that is holding up on our side. I think it's just a matter of them, getting their courts painted and ready to go. But if you go out there, the sidewalk part of our negotiation was that they expand the public access to that sidewalk. I think that's done. I know a few of the courts at least are painted. So I don't know if they're going to just open 3 or if they're waiting to open 8. that's obviously their decision, but it feels like we're on at the tipping point. It's, any week now we should be getting something done. I know the last it crossed my desk was, I think we were talking about some type of ribbon cutting in late April. Obviously it's early May, but it should be pretty close if it's not already.
Any update on Wayside Park and the fishing pier?
The county, I know, I don't remember, I don't want to recite it incorrectly. I know Wes at the county had given an update on the fishing bridge, but I always appreciate answering this question on the Wayside Park aspect, because that's one of the, 1 or 2 emails a month I get is someone taking a photo of Wayside Park and the picnic benches being broken and saying, well, I can't believe you aren't fixing these picnic benches. And I said, well, you're not going to be able to sit at them for about 4 years. So I didn't want to put new benches that you can only look at through a construction fence. So basically everything south of 17th Avenue, everything south. So boat launch north, we're working on all that. Everything south is on hold on the city park side of things because of the $30 million fishing bridge project that will go into, and I don't want to cite the wrong date, but I know very soon they are moving on getting that fishing bridge constructed, and they're going to be using Wayside Park as a laydown yard. So the reason you will not see new picnic benches is we don't want to tease anybody with a picnic bench that they're not allowed to access. So once that project is over, obviously we will go ahead and get aggressive taking on the enhancements at Wayside. But that's not a short project. I think you guys may know better than me. I think we're talking about a couple years, 18 months, 24 months, something like that, to get that bridge built. Anything else? All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.